Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. Donald Trump says the 2016 presidential election saw millions of illegal voters casting ballots. People who were not entitled to vote did so, thereby rigging the election in favor of his rival, Hillary Clinton. So why would Trump make such a claim? Why would a man who's won this historic election, who stands on the verge of becoming an American president, want to discredit the very election that brought him to power? Well, we can suppose why a third or fourth party candidate who finished well out of the money, like Green Party standard bearer Jill Stein, would want to challenge the count. But why would the declared winner want to do anything of the kind? Okay, it is ludicrous. Over the weekend, the president-elect responded on Twitter to reports that Jill Stein was pushing for recounts in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. He called the recount effort a scam and alleged, as I said, massive vote rigging that cost him the popular vote. Hillary Clinton's currently beating Trump, by the way, by more than 2 million votes nationwide. Well, Trump wrote, quote, in addition to winning the Electoral College in a landslide, I won the popular vote if you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally, close quote. He later followed up with, quote, serious voter fraud in Virginia, New Hampshire, and California. So why isn't the media reporting on this? Serious bias, big problem. Well, the allegation of massive voter fraud has been widely disputed. The Washington Post fact checker wrote, this is a bogus claim with no documented proof. California's top election official told the New York Times Trump's claim was absurd. Virginia's commissioner of election told NBC the claims of voter fraud in Virginia during the November 8th election are unfounded. And New Hampshire's deputy secretary of state said, we don't have any evidence, and there's been nothing filed with our office or the attorney general's office that there's widespread voter fraud in New Hampshire. So why is President-elect Trump saying an election he won was rigged? NBC's Hallie Jackson joins me from Trump Tower to give me the answer. Hallie, you're only a reporter. You're only a human being with intelligence to answer a normal question. How on earth does this get justified? What is he trying to do? First of all, the idea of millions, who are these people? I guess he means illegal people here undocumented. You think millions or hundreds of thousands of people walked into a New Hampshire voting station, Mexicans who just got here and they voted, nobody noticed? It's crazy.
Right. So let me answer this, Chris, as a human being, which is to say that the question was posed to the president-elect's transition team of exactly this, right? When the president-elect tweets about millions of people who voted illegally, what does that mean? As one person who is very involved in sort of voter fraud detection efforts at me today, are these imaginary voters? Who are these people? The transition team sent to NBC a 45-page document that included citations that they said would back up this evidence of voter fraud. Our NBC News political unit did an analysis of those documents. That plus research from independent fact checkers essentially debunked those claims. So the bottom line is we are back to the question of where we started, which is where is the evidence? Where's the beef, if you will? This was a very similar issue to what came up when Donald Trump claimed during the general election that the system is rigged. And even during the primaries, he made that claim. And he is relying now, it appears, on some of the same evidence, again, evidence largely debunked, that he used then.
Is this coming from Alex Jones?
So I can tell you this, that at least one of the claims appeared on InfoWars, which is the Alex Jones conspiracy theory or website that is often pushing these conspiracy theories. It then, I believe, got linked to Drudge. So it is possible that that is where the president-elect picked up on some of this. We know that he likes to go online and read these, news clippings, or at least when they're printed out, he reads them. And so, can you draw a direct link? Well, you can say that these claims appeared on places like InfoWars, and now they are being tweeted by the president-elect to his many millions of followers.
Is it fair to assume he's talking about people in the country illegally? Because if you come up with 2 or 3 million additional voters, who are these additional voters? If a person walks into a voting booth and wants to vote, they get to vote if they're legal. So these must be people who are here illegally. Is that a reasonable assumption? He's talking about the same millions of people that Alex Jones is talking about. People from below the border, probably, the way they look at it.
Right, undocumented immigrants who are in the United States illegally, Chris, and that is based on, again, some of the documentation that the transition team has provided in order to, in their view, back up some of these claims being made by the president-elect, specifically citing one 2014 Washington Post piece that has since been debunked that put forward some claims that this was possible.
Thank you so much, Hallie Jackson. Great reporting as a human being. Can only do well. Thank you so much. Just kidding. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. I don't see you again, but I will. Anyway, as historian Timothy Naftali told Politico today, Trump is the first winning candidate to question the legitimacy of the process that gave him the White House. So why is he doing it? John Brabender was senior strategist with Rick Santorum's presidential campaign. Cornell Belcher was a pollster with the Obama campaign in 2012. He's the author of A Black Man in the White House. So you're laughing, so you go first. The reason I raised this is because I thought he had a pretty good edge against Jill Stein. I wasn't impressed by Jill Stein's presidential campaign. I don't think she got into the argument or even into the conversation. And now she's in the conversation with this attempt to get a recount. She'll get one in Wisconsin and perhaps other states. But nobody really expects, especially the Clinton people, that to have any impact on their ultimate result. So why is Trump joining the effort to debunk the election results? It doesn't make any sense.
It is awfully bizarre, but you got to think there's a method to the madness. Look, this ideal that we rigged this election. We did a really poor job, by the way, of rigging this election. If in fact we rigged this election because he was the winner of it. But it does fall into the continuum of Trump, right? I mean, these sort of bend facts when they don't go along with the narrative. We've seen this throughout his whole entire campaign, where if the facts don't go with the narrative that he wants to set, he bends them. You know, we are, Chris, moving into a
what's the motive here? I know a lot of times you'll say things that make sense.
Because he's a strong man, Chris, and a strong man, and in fact that he didn't win the popular vote goes against this idea of he's a big, strong man, and you know, he has a mandate. He doesn't have a mandate here. He's not the one.
Okay, that is an argument. You're making an argument now, but he has a legal right to be president. Well, according to he won the election. Although according to him, he's calling it into question of fraud. But again, my point here, Chris, is I'm not surprised by this, because every time something's not going his way, he bends the facts or he rejects the facts, and he's now the president, which is kind of scary. Okay, this is going to go around the world. I mean, he starts saying that there's 3,000 illegal immigrants, or Alex Jones's thing he's tracking. People are going to believe it. Well, first and then the question, who's going to believe it? And the fact is, if people around the world begin to debunk our election, that hurts our country. That we have voters that aren't even citizens voting here.
First of all, I would first say I don't think it was a good idea for him to say this. I can't say, well, boy, there was brilliance in that. I do think two things. One is, I do think President-elect Trump had been conducting himself very well. But when you get off a campaign, sometimes you instantly snap back to it. And I think during the campaign, Trump's reaction was always fight back, fight back. I'm not going to let them. And I think this was an example where he quickly tweeted something out that has now exploded to some degree. And if you notice, there's not a lot of other people in Trump land talking about this today. So I don't think this was a planned effort, and I think it'll probably die out.
Let's put this all together. You're the pollster, sir. So let's talk about this. We know there's going to be a recount in Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton's people have joined us sort of as, you know, what amicus brief, sort of, we'll go along with it. It wasn't our idea because they don't think it'll get anywhere. There are other close elections, are reasonable. Pennsylvania, 70,000 votes. Michigan, you could say. But nobody believes that the recounting process itself would normally make that kind of a correction, that it wouldn't be that different than the first count, enough to justify a 70,000 vote turnaround in Pennsylvania, for example.
No, well, my problem with the third party folks here now is that if you look at the number of under 30s who protested their third party vote, and if they in fact voted for Hillary Clinton, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I've got a big problem with the third party people altogether. But long term, we can't have the president of our country calling into question our process. It doesn't look good for the country, and it certainly doesn't look good for us outside. And that's not whether you're Democrat or Republican. That's just the office itself.
Well, the state of Wisconsin today announced that it would begin recounting votes next week. Green Party candidate Jill Stein, as we said, has raised millions of dollars from donors to mount the challenge in Wisconsin. You have to pay for it yourself. She's also going to pay for it apparently in Michigan and Pennsylvania. Over the weekend, the Clinton campaign's lawyer Mark Elias said her campaign would participate in the recount, as I said. According to Elias, because we had not uncovered any actionable evidence of hacking or outside attempts to alter the voting technology, we had not planned to exercise this option ourselves. But now that a recount has been initiated in Wisconsin, we intend to participate in order to ensure the process proceeds in a manner that is fair to all sides. John, I don't know what you make of this.
That's fraud. That's just making something up. I mean, let's be realistic. If you look at the numbers, nobody in the world says that there's a problem that's going to change the election. I understand why Jill Stein's doing it. She's raising a heck of a lot of money, over $6 million so far. But
she still has to spend it on the recount. She can't just pocket
no. In Wisconsin, they said that she can also spend it on building for the Green Party. So she can use this. She can use it as a platform. For the Clinton people to add to this, I think is a great insult to American people, because there's no value in it. It's just going to divide America.
But you can't call the process itself a fraud. And I agree with you that you know, I have issues with doing a recount, because I don't think it's going to change anything. But there are rules here, and she is within the rules and laws here. So I wouldn't call what she's doing fraud. I don't think is necessarily helpful. I think it would be more helpful if she had dropped out.
This is
but I don't think it's
I think
fraud.
we're in a very weird conundrum for Trump. You know, he seems to have a hard time accepting his victory. Who was it that ran for mayor of New York and said, "What do you do if you win?" He says, "I'll demand a recount." I think it was Jimmy Breslin or something. Maybe it was William F. Buckley. Anyway, thank you, John Brabender and Cornell Belcher. Thank you. You aren't laughing too happy for what's going on in this country. There's something going on here.
Well, we fixed an election, but apparently we did a really poor job of rigging it.
Be careful of sarcasm. It doesn't work on TV.
Or on Twitter.
I've learned the hard way. You say something ironic like that, people go, "He meant that." Anyway, coming up, a field of determined candidates led by Rudy Giuliani are busy casting themselves as Donald Trump's Secretary of State.